Hi team, I hope you're all well. Today we are going to be doing the first Bookopley game for 2022 using last year's Bookopley board. I haven't changed it this year. There are some changes to the game though, which I do explain over the Bookopley board in my, overhead shot in a second. The changes come in the form of the counter that I use and how I use that. We have stolen from yet another TBR game, which is Jade's. It was her idea 100%. So I now have a combination of Becca's Bookopoly and also Jade's TBR Pursuit. You will see how that is going to work in a second. I have updated my community shelf and chance cards as well, giving those a bit of a spruce. And we have the introduction of a new TBR pot thing, which is Brew. And in here I do have a collection of books very similar. It's the exact same thing again as to what Becca does with her top tier patrons. I have asked mine for recommendations. I gave them access to my all my unread books video, which I will leave a link to up here. If you haven't seen it yet, please do go check it out. I gave them early access to that video and asked them to suggest me one book to pop in here, and once a month I will take one of these out, add it to my TBR, and give it a read. So it forces me to get through some of my backlist 100% and also read some of my patrons' favourite books as well. Once I have pulled one of theirs out, I will then ask them for a replacement book. I don't have many Squad 312 patrons. I do have a handful of them, which I am eternally grateful for. I'm eternally grateful for all of my patrons, to be honest, but I don't have many top tier ones, so I don't have that many in here. I only have 4 picks so far to go from. So I will be asking them for replacements straight away as soon as I pick from here. But we will do that towards the end. So I'm very excited. No updates to the board specifically because, to be perfectly honest, I'm quite happy with how this board looks. And I did not have time to do an updated board. So I didn't know what changes to make, to be perfectly honest. If I feel like it later on in the year, I might do an update. If not, it'll be 2023 when it gets a spruce. So we're going to carry on with this board. Hope that's alright. I like it. So we're going to carry on. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens this year with the board. The idea behind the counter, I can't remember if I explained this or not in my overhead, so if I do I will cut this bit out. But the idea behind the counter head is that using the counter from TBR Pursuit is that I was chatting with Jade and I was like, I don't know what to do about Bookopley this year. Like, I really want to carry on with it. I love having a TBR game. It gives me a sense of direction, and with my TBR and stuff, sometimes I get overwhelmed. If I'm stood looking at these shelves wondering what to read, I get entirely overwhelmed, whereas TBR game gives me a sense of direction. So I love it. I want to keep the TBR game, but I've felt towards the end of this year that I have become more of a mood reader, and the TBR game is restricting me a little bit. So the reason why I have then decided, most of it is because Jade suggested it, but the reason why I've decided to sacrifice the D12 die is that I was finding myself either having very small TBRs or very large TBRs, and it was getting silly. You obviously saw my December TBR, which was ridiculous. I think it was about 13 books or something in December, which is crazy. But I feel like the TBR counter thing, it restricts me to 6 books. But what I like about that is that I have more room to mood read. So my generally, I read between 10 and 15 books a month, generally, which is great because it means that I have the 6 on my TBR plus the TBR jar pick plus the buddy read for my patrons, and then I have room to mood read on top of that, which I really like the idea of. I'm also not going to be really strict with my TBR. If I want to swap anything out at any time, you may have noticed me doing this in the last few months, but if I want to swap anything out at any time, I'm going to. So there may be occasions where I say, okay, so for this prompt I have this book or this book that I'm in the mood for, so we'll see what I feel like when it comes to it, because I do film my TBRs quite early as well. I am filming this on the 16th of December. So by the time it comes to January, my entire TBR could have changed, but right now this is what I want to read for January. I think it will stick, to be honest. I think there will be less pressure for me to swap books out because I am I've only 6 books for my actual Bookopley TBR. So yeah, that's a bit of an introduction into 2022's Bookopley rules and game, etc. If you want more of Bookopley, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description box down below so you can go check it out. Also check out Becca and the Books channel because I have entirely stolen her TBR game with the okay from her, but that's where it came from. So go and check her channel out because that's where it came from originally. But yeah, without further ado, shall we get into it and find out what I'm meant to be reading this month? Okay, welcome to January's Bookopoly. Instead of our bestie Johnny Depp, we are no longer going to be using him as the counter. We are instead stealing something else from somebody else's TBR game, and that would be Jade's. Obviously I have discussed this with her. In fact, it was her idea. So we are going to be using a pie piece from Trivial Pursuit, aka TBR Pursuit, which is Jade's game. And this is just one of the pie pieces with one of each of the slots, and specifically the colours don't mean anything. I just need to fill the pie up. So instead of using the D12 die, which I used to use to determine how many rolls I'm going to do, I found that that stressed me out a little bit, and towards the end of the year I kind of wanted to do a little bit more mood reading. So I do like having a TBR, but I also want the freedom to be able to do some mood reading. So this kind of brings down my rolls to 6, unless I get doubles obviously, but this kind of keeps it focused on it being 6. And what I will do is just fill the pie pieces as I'm going round so I know where I'm up to. Any doubles will not be filled in the pie, but obviously I will be counting those and filling those out while I'm going round as well. But yeah, the idea is I just fill the piece of pie up and I can put any colour of these in that I want. I have many of them. I literally just bought these from eBay because I don't own TBR Pursuit. So, not TBR Pursuit, Trivial Pursuit. So that is one of the changes for the game this year. The other change is that I have some new community shelf and chance cards, and these have been changed. So community shelf does have some prompts on them, prompts that some of my patrons have come up with. Some are from last year, so Treat Yourself was from last year. Favourite author is from one of my patrons. Read an adapted book, it was also a patron's suggestion, as well as subscription box book. Finish a series was from last year. Mood read was from last year. A most recent purchase is a new one. Choose a patron's favourite book is an option now. Reading free day, this was one of the self-care options that one of my patrons came up with, and I really enjoyed that. All my unread books video, so for this one I will go on to that video and pick a book at random. It's exactly like Becca does hers, but she has a position on the board for that. I will be doing the same thing now if I land on Go as well for that prompt, rather than randomising my Goodreads TBR. I will just do it from my all my unread books video. So those are the prompts for the community shelf card, and then for the chance cards I have gone back to picking specific books. So rather than having 2 lots of prompts, I have gone back to specific books. Some of these are non-fiction, some of them are books from my top 10 priority series, not series, just top 10 priority books. If you want to see that video, I'll link it up below. If you want to see that video, I'll link it above. And some of them are just a bunch of books that I do want to read, I just keep avoiding for whatever reason. So we've got Will by Will Smith. We have Becoming by Michelle Obama. We have Malice by John Gwynne, which was on my top 10 TBR. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Three Fifths by John Vercher. Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson, The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, and The Grey Bastards by Jonathan French. So there is a nice little mix there of non-fiction and fantasy, and even a bit of contemporary in there as well. So pop them on there. They aren't, yeah. So that's everything that's changed with my game for this year. I hope you like those changes and the other changes that I've just mentioned in the intro of this video. But without further ado, let's get into the first roll. Okay, so seeing as it is the new year, we will be starting off on Go. And the first roll is, we got 3. 1, excuse you, 2, 3. Horror or thriller. And we'll pop a piece of pie in there. So the first roll is for horror or thriller. I'm actually really excited about this. I feel like I don't read enough horror or thrillers throughout the year, and I probably should do, because once it gets to Halloween, spooky season, I binge them all and I'm like, I should have done that all year. So for this one, I'm actually going to go for The Night Swim by Megan Goldin. I saw this originally on Kayla from Books and Lala's channel, and I believe there's like a podcast feature in this one, and I believe the audiobook is incredible, and I currently have it from my library. So I really wanted to get this one on. This is definitely one of the books that isn't going to change, because while I've got the audiobook, I really want to listen to it. I've been trying to squeeze it into December and I'm just not going to make it happen. So January it is. This will probably be one of my first reads of the month in January, and I'm really excited about it. So it says, a true crime podcast host covering a controversial trial finds herself drawn deep into a small town's dark past and brutal crime that took place 3 years before. Ever since her true crime podcast became an overnight sensation and set an innocent man free, Rachel Crowell has become a household name and the last hope for people seeking justice. But she's used to being recognised for her voice, not her face, which makes it all the more unsettling when she finds a note on her car windshield addressed to her begging her for help. The new season of Rachel's podcast has brought her to a small town being torn apart by a devastating rape trial. A local golden boy, a swimmer destined for Olympic greatness, has been accused of raping the beloved granddaughter of the police chief. Under pressure to make season 3 a success, Rachel throws herself into the investigation, but the mysterious letters keep coming. Someone is following her and she won't stop until Rachel finds out what happened to her sister 25 years ago. Officially, Jenny Stills tragically drowned, but the letters insist she was murdered, and when Rachel starts asking questions, nobody in town wants to answer. The past and present start to collide as Rachel uncovers startling connections between the two cases, and a revelation that will change the course of the trial and the lives for everyone involved. Electrifying and propulsive, The Night Swim asks, what's the price of a reputation? Can a small town ever right the wrongs of its past? And what really happened to Jenny? This sounds incredible. It sounds like there's a little bit of stalking going on there, but I'm unsure on whether that's like a full-blown stalker case or what. So we'll see how that goes with me, because stalking is a trigger for me, if you didn't know. But I'm really looking forward to this one. I do love a book that involves a podcast. I hope there are podcast elements in here, like podcast episodes. I love when that happens, a little bit like Sadie by Courtney Summers. But yeah, I don't know, hopefully. Oh, is that a podcast episode? Yes, we have a podcast episode. Success. Okay, so I'm very excited about this one. Another one that I've read recently that features, it didn't feature it heavily, which is a shame, but did have a podcast element to it, is The Girls Are Never Gone by Sarah Glenn Marsh. So that's another one featuring podcasts, but if you know of any other books that feature podcasts, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm always on the lookout for them. But yeah, this is going to be my first book for January. Roll number 2. We got 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A pole pick, and pop a piece of pie in there. Then we had a poll pick option, and I took to my patrons with this one, and I picked up a collection of books that would finish out a series essentially. These are all duologies, and they would finish a duology. I wanted to start January off correct. I did start picking out the first book in series for my patrons to pick for me, and then I was like, no, let's do this correctly and pick out the last in a duology and get some fucking series done and dusted. So that's what I've ended up doing. So this is my selection. The first book is This Coven Won't Break by Isabel Sterling, the first one being These Witches Won't Burn. The second one is Vicious Spirits by Cacho, the first one being Wicked Fox. The third one is Bloody Rose by Nicholas Ames, the first one being Kings of the Wild. And the fourth one is The Crooked Kingdom by Lee Bardugo, the first one being Six of Crows. I am partway through this one. And the winner was Crooked Kingdom by a long shot. This one got 9 votes. Then we had Vicious Spirits with 7 votes. Then we had Bloody Rose with 4 and This Coven Won't Break with 2. So this was very, very close actually, and I would like to get to it very soon, but we'll see how soon that happens. But yeah, just stick those up there for the time being. So Crooked Kingdom did win. I was highly anticipating that. I thought it might do, but I am 200 pages into this one. I started it, put it down, didn't pick it back up. It's standard behaviour from me, to be perfectly honest. So I think I may restart this, I'm not sure. I might just go back to the previous chapter, try that, and if I can remember what's going on, then I'll just carry on, and if not, I will restart it. But this is the second in the Six of Crows duology, and it's following the Dregs, who are essentially a band of, I think it's 6 people in a crew, and in the first one they want to pull off an epic heist essentially, and that's what's happening. And then in this second one we continue to follow them on. We are following Kazbrecker, who is the leader of the Dregs, and his team essentially, and I am looking forward to continuing on with this one, to be honest, because I did enjoy Six of Crows more than I liked the Shadow and Bone trilogy. In general, I just preferred that one book more than I liked the whole trilogy of Shadow and Bone. So yeah, I would like to finish this one off, and maybe then I can actually watch the Shadow and Bone series as well. I haven't watched it yet, so maybe then I could watch that. But yeah, my patrons picked this one for me for poll pick, so Crooked Kingdom is going on my TBR. Roll number 3. We got 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. An adult fantasy. And pop a piece of pie in there. Then we had an adult fantasy come up, and for this one I am going to pick up a book. I've been wanting to get back into this series. Both me and Jade have been discussing it because we're buddy reading the series, but it is Mistborn Era 2, and this is the second book in that series, Shadow of Self, by Brandon Sanderson. So in this series we are following Wax and Wayne. Essentially this is many years on from the end of Hero of Ages, which is the last in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy, and we are kind of following off the back of that a little bit. The allomancy magic in here has evolved massively, and we are kind of going into all of those changes and stuff with Wax and Wayne, and it's really interesting. So I can't, it's been a hot minute and I can't fully remember what happened in the first one, but I'm really interested to carry on and find out what happens next. I didn't enjoy this as much as I liked the first Mistborn trilogy, so I'm not anticipating that I'm going to love it as much as this first one, but it will be interesting to carry on. And also I like that these are a lot smaller than the first trilogy too. So yeah, hoping to continue on with this series with Jade and give this a buddy read, because we've been meaning to get back to it after both of us hit life slumps towards the end of 2021. So this is the book for adult fantasy. Roll number 4. We got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A romance and a piece of pie in there. Excuse you. There we go. Then we landed on romance, which I am incredibly happy about, and for this one I am going to pick up On a Night Like This by Lindsay Kelk. This is one of my most anticipated releases actually from 2021. In fact, I've just done a whole video about 2021 releases I wish I got to in 2021 and I didn't put this on there. That's because it was in my pile for my TBR. I'm an idiot. Whatever. If you've seen that video, this should have been on there and it wasn't. Whatever. It's fine. Anywho, I am so excited about this book. I've just not had a chance to pick it up yet, and I'm so mad at myself because Lindsay Kelk is my favourite author of all time, if you didn't know. And I'm really hyped to pick this one up. So thank you to Tracy for gifting me this one. I appreciate it, Trace. So this says, within days of wishing she could change her life, Fran Cooper is acting assistant to a celebrity on a yacht in the Mediterranean and en route to a tiny island and the glittering gala, the Crystal Ball, when she quite literally bumps into a handsome American called Evan, a man able to keep his cool in the face of chaos. The magic really begins. Evan makes her a promise: no last names, no life stories, just one unforgettable night. Wearing a designer dress and drinking champagne, Fran is a million miles away from an ordinary life, yet Evan belongs to the Crystal Ball and Fran is a gatecrasher. They may be soulmates, but their homes are oceans apart and their lives a world apart. They'll never meet again unless on a night like this everything can change forever. It sounds fantastic and I'm so excited. I'm also hyped for Lindsay to have her first ever hardback book as well. I will be getting this in paperback at some point when it comes out next year, but I'm so excited for her to have a hardback edition. So I wanted to put this one on my TBR and get to it ASAP. So hopefully that's the case for romance. Roll number 5. We got 3. 1, 2, 3. A middle grade and a piece of pie. Then middle grade came up and I am putting another book on here that I am partway through. I really want to try and get through some of these books that I'm partway through because I'm sick to death of seeing them on my TBR cart. And this one is Strange Worlds Travel Agency by L.D. Lipinski and by L.D. Lipinski. I am only, I say only, 104 pages into this one, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I know exactly what's happened and I remember everything, so I don't need to start again. But this one is following our main character, Flick Hudson, who's 12 years old. She accidentally ends up in the Strange Worlds travel agency. She uncovers a fantastic secret. There are hundreds of other worlds just steps away from ours. All you have to do to visit them is just jump into the right suitcase. Then Flick gets the invitation of a lifetime. Join Strange Worlds Magical Travel Society and explore new worlds. But unbeknownst to Flick, the world at the very centre of it all, a city called Five Lights, is in danger. Buildings and even streets are mysteriously disappearing. Once Flick realises what's happening, she must race against time, travel through the uncharted world, seeking a way to fix Five Lights before it collapses into nothingness and takes our world with it. This is the signed edition that I got from Alcroat Jr. I'm so excited to continue on with this one. So this is the book I am putting on my TBR for middle grade for January. Roll number 6, our final roll, is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A community shelf card. What do we have? We have read an anticipated book, and our final pie in there. Ta-da! Then we landed on community shelf, and I'm fairly certain when I pulled this card out I said anticipated read. It doesn't say an anticipated read. When it focuses, it says read an adapted book. I just got myself confused. It's not anticipated book, it's an adapted book. So a book that has been adapted to TV, whether that be a movie or a TV program. And for this one, again, I'm going to pick up a book. I'm going to pick up a book. Struggles. I'm going to pick up a book that I am halfway through. Another one, because why wouldn't I be halfway through yet another book? And I'm going to be picking up A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I did watch the first season of A Discovery of Witches. I haven't carried on with it. I did get 250 pages into A Discovery of Witches. I haven't carried on with it. Do you see a theme here? It's not that I'm not enjoying them, because I am. I just put it down again. So I would like to finish this off. Again, I remember everything that's happened in this book, so I don't need to start again, which I'm really glad about. But I would just like to finish it off because I'm sick to death of seeing it with a fucking bookmark in it. And I would like to carry on with the series if at all possible. So on the back, this says, deep in the heart of Oxford's Bodleian Library, Diana Bishop, a young scholar and the descendant of witches, unearths an enchanted alchemical manuscript. Wanting nothing to do with sorcery, she banishes the book to the stacks, but her discovery has set a fantastical underworld stirring, and soon a horde of demons, witches and other creatures descend upon the library. Amongst them is the enigmatic Matthew Claremont, a vampire with a keen interest in the book, equal parts history and magic, romance and suspense. A Discovery of Witches is mesmerising and addictive tale of passion and obsession that reveals the closely guarded secrets of an enchanted world. I did really enjoy the TV series, to be honest, and I would like to carry on with it, so I would like to finish this off and you know, get it boxed off and tick another book off of my friggin' TBR cart. So yeah, that's going on my TBR as well. So for my 6 books for Bookopley Rolls, this is what it looks like. This is a whole vibe. I'm not gonna lie, other than Crooked Kingdom, how nice is this stack? This is my entire brand. Have a quick look. Try and tell me that's not my entire brand. The whole thing is blue, other than Crooked Kingdom. I am here for it. So I'm very, very excited indeed. This is looking like a really nice stack, and it's a nice mix as well. I've got some middle grade, I've got some romance, I've got some high fantasy, I have a thriller on there, I've got some YA fantasy. So I'm really, really looking forward to it, and I'm very excited about this whole stack. You don't anticipate me changing anything at all. So I am really looking forward to it. I then have to pick out my buddy read with my Patreons. So the options I gave them were, to start off with, I gave them the option of what genre they would like to read from, either romance, sci-fi, fantasy, middle grade, historical, or there was something else and I can't remember what it was now, but there was one other thing as well. Oh, horror or thriller. They picked romance, so I then decided, let's go to Patreon and find out what the poll has come up with. So then I gave them the options of Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker, and also 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Louise. And the results have come in with The Simple Wild with 4 votes, Ugly Love with 5 votes, 8 Perfect Hours with 8 votes, and the winner is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall with 12 votes. So reasonably close again between these two, but not that close. So I am looking forward to this one. I've heard incredible things. It is chunky for a romance though. It's 425 pages, which is reasonably sized for a romance. But this is queer and I'm so excited. So on the back it says, wanted, one fake boyfriend, practically perfect in every way. Luke O'Donnell is tangentially and reluctantly famous. His rock star parents split when he was young, and the father he's never met spent the next 20 years cruising in and out of rehab. Now that his dad's making a comeback, Luke's back in the public eye, and one compromising photo is enough to ruin everything. To clean up his image, Luke has to find a nice, normal relationship, and Oliver Blackwood is as nice and normal as they come. He's a barrister and an ethical vegetarian, and he's never inspired a moment of scandal in his life. In other words, perfect boyfriend material. Unfortunately, apart from being gay, single and really in the need of a date for a big event, Luke and Oliver have nothing in common. So they strike a deal to be publicly friendly, fake boyfriends until the dust is settled. Then they can go their separate ways and pretend it never happened. But the thing about fake dating is that it can feel a lot like real dating, and that's when you get used to someone, start falling for them, don't ever want to let them go. Oh, I'm so excited. This sounds so good. I love fake dating. If you didn't know, it's my favourite trope. I love it, although friends to lovers is fastly becoming one of my favourite tropes. If you know, you know. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one. It sounds quintessentially British. I wouldn't even mind, but look at the chapter headings. They are literally a fucking, you know, tube stop sign. So I'm very excited about this one, and I'm really glad that my patrons have picked this one. I hope that they enjoy this one to buddy read with me. I do exclusive spoiler filled vlogs for my patrons for these as well, so I'm hyped to do that one for them. Oh, and this one was gifted to me as well from Farina. Thank you so much, Farina, for sending me this one. I really appreciate it. So I'm very excited about that. Also, I realised that Husband Material, I think it's called, is coming out next year as well. So that's the next in the series, and I'm hyped for it. So there's that, and then the final pick is from my Patreon. It's not a jar. It's a witch's brew mug. But you know, and we're going to do a really good shuffle on this one and a really good mix because there's only 4 in here. I need to get some more, I know. So we're going to go for this one, which is this. Does that say Tracy? When Life Gives You Mangoes from Tracy, which is a middle grade. Let me just get that. So this is the pick from Tracy from my Patreon TBR mug, if you like, and it's a small middle grade, so I am here for it. This is one that Becca actually sent through to me after she'd finished reading it, which I'm really excited about. I think she enjoyed this one. So a summer she can't remember, a friendship she won't forget. Nothing much happens in Sycamore, the small village where Clara lives. At least that's how it looks. She loves eating ripe mangoes fallen from trees, running outside in the rainy season and escaping to her secret hideout with her best friend Gaynor. There's only one problem. She can't remember anything that happened last summer. When a quirky girl called Rudy arrives from England, everything starts to change. Gaynor stops acting like a best friend while Rudy and Clara roam across the island and uncover a family secret. As the summer reaches its peak and the island storms begin, Clara's memory starts to return and she must finally face the truth. This sounds so interesting. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Thank you, Tracy, for popping this one in my TBR mug. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I am going to just pop that in there so I remember that Tracy picked this one for me. And now this is my final TBR, all 8 books for me to read in the month of January, actually. Although, to be fair, this is my January-February buddy read pick for my patrons, so I could read it in February as well. So yeah, I'm very excited indeed about these. Again, I love that other than Crooked Kingdom and When Life Gives You Mangoes, this is my entire vibe. blue everywhere. So very, very excited about all of these. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these. What have your thoughts been? And yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you enjoy the changes that I've made, not necessarily to the board but to the game itself, how I'm going to be doing my TBR in future. I know this means that there won't be any more like ridiculous TBRs, but I'm actually kind of relieved about that because I would like to do a little bit more mood reading in the process. Maybe I might, during the month, you know, roll as I go on the board a little bit. I will always come back to in February where we were previously, but maybe I'll use the board to pick my TBR for the rest of the month if I finish this off early enough and I decide to mood read. Maybe I'll just pick books freely. Who the hell knows? But if you want to know what I do decide to pick up for the rest of the month, I do have reading vlogs that I do every week. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you're happy with the changes, if you like the changes, if you have any other recommendations for me with the changes, and I shall hopefully see you in the next one. Bye for now.